In Australia, we only have two main supermarket chains. It's like a duopoly, where two big players dominate the market. When I was around 15, I was old enough to start working, but I found it really tough to stand in one place for 4 hours, serving customers. Time seemed to crawl by, and it felt like an eternity. I would often find myself calculating how much money was going through my cash register every hour. Then, I'd think about how many cash registers there were in the entire store. And finally, I'd wonder how many there were in all the stores across the city. I don't recall the exact figures, but it was a staggering amount of money, and the company was making a huge profit. They had really high profit margins, which is not an excuse for what I did later, but it did make me feel a bit better about it at the time. Also, every time the supervisor counted the money in the cash register, it would always be short by $20 to $50. If the amount was off by a weird number like $17.35, they'd investigate to find the mistake. But if it was a round number like $20 or $50, they'd just shrug it off and assume the problem was somewhere else in the store's operations. When I quit my job, I decided to take advantage of the situation. During my last 2 weeks, I would take $50 from the cash register every shift. This was in the early 2000s, and I wasn't sure how good the security cameras were, but I knew where they were placed. So, I'd carefully slide the money out and drop it on the floor, then pretend to tie my shoelaces a few minutes later and sneak the cash into my socks. That $50 would go towards buying lunches at school and treating my friends to drinks from the vending machines. When I got change, I'd use it to buy them a cold can of cherry Coke. Honestly, I don't feel any guilt or remorse for what I did. Story 2. Hello everyone, I want to share my story with you. I'm a 23-year-old guy from Canada, and my family background is a bit complicated. My parents are immigrants from a Muslim country, and they separated when I was young. My dad lives in the United States now, and both of my parents have remarried. When I was 18, I got my girlfriend pregnant. We had been together for about a year and were using protection, but it failed. We tried the morning after pill, but it didn't work. At first, I wasn't ready to be a father, and she agreed to consider an abortion. However, her family found out and convinced her to keep the baby, and she decided to go ahead with the pregnancy. I felt like I had no say in the matter. I've only shared this secret with my mom, and that's it. I'm too ashamed to tell anyone else, not even my stepdad who lives with me. I feel like I've let my parents down big time. They struggled so hard to come to this country and give me a better life, and now I've messed up like this. Plus, my family is really judgmental and loves to gossip, and they're also Muslim, so I know they'll be disappointed and upset. Now, I'm actively involved in my child's life and have a good relationship with their mom. However, I'm still keeping it a secret from everyone else. I know I can't keep this up forever. But I'm planning to wait until I finish school and establish my career before sharing the news with my family. I feel ashamed that I have a child but can't even support them on my own yet. I don't really care about what my other family members or stepfather think. But I do feel like my biological dad has the right to know that he has a grandchild. The situation is complicated because my dad has 2 young children of his own, who are only a little older than my child. My relationship with my father is also a bit strained. He left our family when I was a toddler and wasn't really involved in my life until recently. We've been getting along okay for the past 5 years. But he's always pushed me to prioritize education and career over everything else. He already thinks I've made mistakes by taking 2 gap years after high school. He's very successful and has high standards for me, which makes it harder for me to admit that I have a child. Despite knowing it's wrong to keep my child a secret from him, I'm struggling to figure out how to break the news to him. Should I tell him in person when I visit, or should I have the conversation over the phone? I'm unsure of how he'll react, and the thought of telling him is overwhelming me. Story 3. I'm a 31-year-old man, and I'm having a big argument with my 27-year-old brother about money. Our parents passed away 2 years ago and left us some inheritance. It wasn't a huge amount, but enough to give us both some financial security. We each got around $60,000. Here's where the problems began. I invested my share of the inheritance in a combination of savings and a small down payment on a modest home. But my brother made a different choice. He spent his entire inheritance on a brand new, high-end sports car, the most expensive kind. He's always been into showy things and living life to the fullest, but I thought it was his decision to make. Now the situation has changed. The sports car hasn't kept its value like he thought it would, and my brother is having trouble paying for repairs and other daily expenses. He's come to me asking for financial help. He wants me to lend him money to pay his rent and some other bills. I said no. I told my brother that he made a choice to spend his money on a car that would lose value, and now he has to deal with the results of that decision. He got upset and called me cruel, saying I was turning my back on family in need. He believes that family should always help each other, and that I'm being selfish by keeping my savings to myself. Our family is divided on the issue. Some relatives agree with me, saying my brother should have been more careful with his money. Others think I should help him out, since I'm financially stable and he's family. My brother has even gone online, trying to make me look like the villain and guilt-tripping me into lending him money. So, Reddit, am I the bad guy for not helping my brother with money after he spent his inheritance on a fancy car?